The studio lights glimmered like stars as Live with Kelly and Mark began, filling the room with a cheerful buzz. Kelly Ripa smiled widely, her energy infectious, as she turned toward the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prince Harry." The crowd erupted with applause. Cameras zoomed in as Harry stepped onto the stage in a sharp navy suit, his expression composed but distant. He waved politely, his signature half-smile in place, yet there was something guarded in his eyes, a quiet tension that only the most observant would notice. Kelly greeted him with her usual charm. "It's so good to have you here, Harry. You've been keeping busy lately, haven't you?" Her voice carried warmth, but also a hint of curiosity. Harry chuckled softly, glancing at the audience before replying, "I've tried to. Life's different these days." The crowd laughed lightly, enchanted by his calm tone. But as he shifted slightly in his chair, the unease beneath his polished demeanor became clear. He wasn't just here for an interview. He was here to survive one. Kelly leaned forward, her smile unwavering. "You seem really settled here in America," she said. "How's California treating you?" Harry nodded. "It's been peaceful. My family's happy, and that's all that really matters." The audience applauded, but Kelly wasn't done. She flipped one of her cue cards, her expression shifting ever so slightly. "Speaking of family," she said smoothly, "your memoir stirred quite a reaction. Were you ready for how explosive it became?" Harry's smile faltered, just for a moment. He adjusted the mic on his lapel, eyes narrowing slightly. "I was ready for honesty," he replied evenly. "Not for everyone to like it, but for it to be truthful." His tone was calm, but the words carried a subtle edge. The audience fell quiet, sensing something shifting. Kelly nodded, maintaining her composure, but the curiosity in her eyes grew sharper. "Of course," she said with practiced sympathy, "but some people felt you revealed too much. Especially about your family." The air tightened. Harry's jaw flexed, and for a brief second, he looked past her, toward the blinking studio lights. "People will always say that," he said finally. "But truth doesn't lose its value because it makes others uncomfortable." A ripple of quiet murmurs swept through the crowd. Kelly smiled wider, but her tone turned cooler. "That's a strong statement," she said. "Do you think your father or brother would agree?" Harry looked at her, expression unreadable. "I think they'd rather not hear it," he said softly. The audience gasped faintly. The charm of the opening minutes had vanished. In its place, a tense energy filled the studio, polite on the surface but electric underneath. Kelly crossed her legs, trying to keep the tone light. "Well, we love honesty here," she said brightly, gesturing toward the crowd. "Don't we, folks?" Laughter followed, but it sounded nervous, unsure. Harry smiled faintly, but didn't laugh. He leaned back, his hands clasped, posture straight. The cameras caught the subtle stiffness in his body, the stillness of a man who felt cornered but refused to show weakness. Kelly's voice cut through the tension, cheerful but insistent. "You've always said you wanted a normal life," she said. "But can someone like you, a prince, ever really have that?" Harry exhaled slowly. "I stopped trying to live up to the word prince a long time ago," he said. "Now I just try to live up to being a man." The words hung in the air, heavier than anyone expected. Even Kelly blinked, momentarily thrown off script. The audience applauded softly, unsure whether it was for courage or defiance. The segment wrapped soon after, Kelly smiling into the camera as if nothing had happened. "We'll be right back after this short break," she announced. The music played, the audience clapped, but the moment between them lingered. As Harry adjusted his suit and looked off stage, the faint glint in his eyes said everything. He knew the break was temporary, that the real questions, the ones meant to sting, were coming next. And as the studio lights dimmed for commercials, the tension between the host and the prince grew thick enough to feel. The calm before the clash was ending. The storm was only beginning. The second segment began with laughter, but it didn't last long. As the cameras rolled again, Kelly Ripa leaned forward in her chair, her smile bright but her tone noticeably different. Gone was the light small talk from before. This was the moment the audience had been waiting for, when the questions got real. Prince Harry sat across from her, posture still confident, but his eyes betrayed a quiet caution. He had been through countless interviews before, yet something about this one felt sharper, more unpredictable. Kelly started gently enough. "So, Harry," she said, flipping through her cue cards, Your book. It's been quite the conversation starter. People have called it everything from brave to controversial. How does it feel knowing the world has read such personal details about your life? Harry gave a small smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. I think honesty can be uncomfortable, he said slowly. But it's necessary. People talk about my life like it's a story. I just wanted to tell it in my own words. The audience nodded, some applauded. Kelly smiled politely, but her next question came faster, like a hidden arrow. But do you ever regret revealing so much about your family? Especially about your brother? She asked, her tone soft but cutting. Harry's expression shifted, not drastically, just a flicker. His jaw tightened. I didn't reveal more than what was already lived, he said. Sometimes the truth hurts, but silence hurts worse. The studio fell quiet. Even the audience, who moments ago were cheerful, now seemed unsure whether to breathe or clap. Kelly glanced at her notes, pretending to smile. You've mentioned wanting to move past royal life, but your book, your interviews, doesn't that keep pulling you back in? Harry inhaled slowly, eyes narrowing ever so slightly. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting, he said. It means being brave enough to acknowledge what happened. Kelly nodded, but her curiosity had sharpened into something more pointed. But isn't there a difference between honesty and exposure? She asked, leaning closer. Some critics say you're using your story to stay relevant. The words hung in the air like a slap. The audience gasped softly. Harry blinked once, his expression neutral, but the shift in the atmosphere was undeniable. His voice dropped an octave lower when he replied. If telling the truth makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should ask themselves why, he said calmly. Kelly smiled, though it was tighter now. So no regrets? She pressed. Not even when your own family says they felt betrayed. Harry leaned forward slightly. The charm in his tone was gone, replaced by calm restraint, the kind that comes before anger. Betrayal, he repeated softly. That's a strong word. I think it's interesting how it only applies when I speak. The audience was silent now. Kelly shifted in her chair, realizing she had crossed an invisible line, but too deep into it to turn back. I just mean, she said quickly, you've always been seen as the royal rebel. Maybe that reputation follows you, whether you like it or not. Harry gave a small, humorless laugh. Rebel, he said. That's what they call you when you stop doing what you're told. The tension in the studio was palpable. Kelly's smile wavered for the first time. The chemistry between host and guest, once easy and light, had turned into a chess match played under hot lights. Every word was measured, every pause heavy with meaning. So you're saying the royal family tried to control you? She asked quietly. Harry didn't look away. I'm saying I had to choose between silence and self-respect, he replied. And I chose the latter. The room fell still. The audience was frozen, unsure whether they were watching an interview or a confrontation. Kelly tried to recover, her voice turning gentle again. Harry, I hope you know we all admire your honesty. It's just that, well, people are still curious about how you really feel toward your brother now. Harry looked down for a moment, his fingers tightening around the armrest. When he looked up again, his eyes were sharper, colder. Some things, he said slowly, aren't meant for morning television. Kelly blinked, momentarily stunned. The cameras caught the flicker of discomfort on her face. She smiled again, trying to lighten the mood. Fair enough, she said, laughing nervously. Didn't mean to stir the pot too much. But the damage was done. The tension was alive now, pulsing in the air, impossible to ignore. Even the audience sensed it. What had begun as curiosity had turned into confrontation. Harry leaned back, his expression unreadable, but there was a weight behind his silence, one that filled the entire studio. The laughter that followed Kelly's joke felt forced, almost hollow. As the cameras zoomed out for a wide shot, Kelly straightened her posture, pretending everything was fine. We'll be right back after the break, she announced brightly, her voice slightly too high. The audience clapped, unsure if they should. Harry forced a polite smile, but his eyes told a different story, one of frustration, exhaustion, and something else. A flicker of betrayal. The moment the red on-air light dimmed, Harry exhaled deeply, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Kelly looked at him, her smile gone. Neither said a word. The spark had been lit, and they both knew it. This wasn't just an awkward moment on TV. It was the beginning of a storm that would soon explode far beyond that studio. The tension in the studio was suffocating, like a storm cloud hovering over every camera, every face, every breath. Prince Harry sat across from Kelly Ripa, his posture straight but his eyes betraying the quiet storm building inside. What began as a cheerful chat had turned into something darker, sharper. The laughter had faded, replaced by an uneasy stillness that even the audience could feel. Kelly's smile remained, polished, professional, but her tone had shifted, each question now laced with a sting. "So, Harry," she began lightly, flipping through her cue cards, "let's talk about that moment in your book. The one people can't stop talking about. The frostbite incident." The audience chuckled, but Harry didn't. His lips curved into a polite smile, but his knuckles whitened where he gripped his chair. Kelly's teasing tone continued. "I mean, it's quite a story. Not every prince shares something so personal." The laughter grew, echoing like a drumbeat of mockery. Harry's smile faltered. "It was honest," he said evenly. "People deserve honesty." Kelly tilted her head, feigning curiosity. "Of course, but do you ever feel maybe you overshared? It made it hard for some to take you seriously." The words landed like a slap. Harry's eyes, calm moments ago, turned sharp. "I wrote about my life," he replied quietly. "The parts the world thought it already knew. I wanted truth, not fairy tales." But Kelly didn't stop. Her next words sliced deeper. "Some might say it's hard to talk about privacy when you keep revealing everything yourself." The crowd gasped softly. The tension became tangible, crawling up the walls of the studio. Harry's chest rose and fell slowly, measured, like a soldier keeping his temper under fire. "There's a difference between sharing your truth and being exploited for someone else's," he said firmly. Kelly leaned back, crossing her arms, her tone still playful but now defensive. "Oh, come on, Harry, it's just a conversation." He met her gaze with a cold stillness that made even the lights seem dimmer. "No," he said, voice low, controlled. "This isn't a conversation. This is entertainment at my expense," the audience murmured. Kelly laughed awkwardly, trying to recover. "Don't be so serious, it's just a bit of fun." "Fun?" Harry repeated, his tone darkening. "When people mock what hurt? When pain becomes a headline?" Kelly froze. The cameras kept rolling, capturing the exact moment the atmosphere cracked. The man once known for his charm now looked unrecognizable, eyes blazing, composure slipping. He leaned forward, every word deliberate. "I came here thinking maybe we could have a real talk." "But this is why people don't trust the media anymore." Kelly's jaw tightened. She tried to interrupt, but Harry's voice rose just enough to silence her. "You twist things, make them sound scandalous, and call it truth. You laugh, and people forget there's a person sitting here who lived every bit of it." The crowd sat frozen. Kelly's smile had vanished completely now. Her eyes darted toward the crew, searching for a cue, a save, but none came. "Harry, I think we should take a break," she began softly. "Maybe you should," he interrupted, his tone cutting but calm. "Because I'm done pretending this is respectful." He exhaled, leaning back, eyes fixed somewhere distant, as if the noise, the lights, the questions all blurred into one meaningless hum. Kelly cleared her throat, voice shaky now. "We'll be right back," she said, forcing a smile toward the camera. The red-on-air light dimmed. The audience sat in stunned silence, unsure if they'd just witnessed a breakdown or a breakthrough. Harry removed his mic quietly, his expression unreadable, a mix of anger and fatigue. The studio was silent except for the faint hum of the lights above. Kelly turned away, her charm shattered, her hands trembling slightly. The crew whispered. The audience whispered, but Harry didn't say another word. He simply stood, his chair scraping softly against the stage floor. He looked toward Kelly once, not with anger but with something heavier, something final, and walked off. In that single moment, before the commercials rolled, everyone knew they'd just witnessed television history. The instant a prince stopped playing the game and let the world see the man beneath the title. The studio had fallen into a heavy, breathless silence. Prince Harry stood, the lights glaring down on him like judgment itself. His hands trembled slightly as he unclipped the microphone from his collar. The faint click echoed across the stage, louder than any applause. "You wanted honesty?" he said, his voice low but cutting through the air like a blade. "You got it." His eyes, once soft and calm, now burned with the exhaustion of a man who had finally had enough. Kelly Ripa froze in her chair, caught completely off guard. Her cue card slipped slightly in her hand, her smile faltering as the audience gasped in disbelief. For a long moment, Time itself seemed to stop. No one moved. The cameras kept rolling, unsure whether to cut to commercial or keep filming what was clearly turning into a disaster. Kelly tried to regain her tone, her voice shaking. "Harry, please, let's just—" But Harry didn't let her finish. "No," he interrupted, his voice sharper now, echoing in the stunned quiet. "You don't want a conversation. You want a show." Every word carried the weight of years of being dissected, mocked, and misunderstood. "You sit there," he said, his tone rising, "and act curious, but all you really want is another headline." The audience looked on, some wide-eyed, others whispering. Kelly swallowed hard, trying to hold on to her composure. "This isn't a headline, it's an interview," she said quickly, her tone defensive. Harry gave a short, humorless laugh. "No, it's entertainment. My pain, my past, my family, all just material for a few laughs and viral clips." He leaned forward slightly, his voice trembling now, not with weakness but emotion. "This is exactly why I walked away from all of it. Because no matter how honest you try to be, they'll twist it into something cruel." Kelly tried again to lighten the moment, forcing a small smile. "Harry, we're just having a bit of fun." "Fun?" he snapped, cutting her off again. "You think it's fun to mock someone's story? To laugh at something that broke them?" The crowd went silent. The energy had shifted completely. No more applause, no more laughter, just the uncomfortable stillness of truth hanging in the air. Kelly looked around, her eyes darting toward the crew for help, but no one moved. Even the camera operators stood frozen behind their lenses. Harry's expression softened slightly, but his voice carried a quiet finality. "You don't know what it's like," he said softly. "To live every day with the world watching you, waiting for you to fail. I thought this time would be different." He paused, then added, "But it never is." He set the microphone down on the table with a slow, deliberate motion. The metallic sound echoed like an ending note. Kelly opened her mouth, but no words came. The tension was unbearable now, a moment too real for television. The director's voice finally crackled through the earpieces. "Cut to break!" But it was too late. The cameras had already caught everything. Harry took a deep breath, glanced at the silent audience, and stepped back from his chair. "I'm done," he said simply, his tone calm but final. "Good luck with your show." He turned and began walking off stage, his steps steady and sure. The security team moved instinctively, clearing a path as he walked through the stunned set. Kelly just sat there, her face pale, her notes trembling in her hands. She forced a shaky smile toward the camera. "We'll be right back," she said, her voice barely holding steady. The red on-air light flicked off. The room exhaled collectively, whispers rising from the audience like a wave. Kelly sat motionless, staring at the empty chair where Harry had been. She had hosted thousands of interviews, actors, presidents, royals, but none had ever ended like this. A producer rushed over, speaking rapidly in her ear, but she didn't hear him. All she could think about were his words. "You wanted honesty? You got it." Within minutes, the internet exploded. Someone in the audience had recorded the moment and posted it online. The clip went viral before the show even finished airing. Headlines appeared across every platform. "Prince Harry walks off live show after clash with Kelly Ripa." Social media lit up with reactions: anger, sympathy, mockery, disbelief. Millions of viewers replayed the exact second he stood up, the way his voice trembled, the look on Kelly's face when she realized this wasn't scripted. Inside his dressing room, Harry sat silently staring at the floor. His reflection in the mirror looked tired, not humiliated, not defeated, just free. For the first time, he hadn't let someone else control the story. "They'll twist it again," he whispered to himself. "But at least this time, it's my truth." He stood, adjusted his coat, and walked out through the side exit. Outside, the night air was cold, sharp, and real. The only honest thing left after a storm of cameras and noise. Back in the studio, Kelly Ripa sat alone beneath the fading lights. The laughter, the rhythm, the control, all of it gone. She stared at the empty seat, realizing she hadn't just lost an interview. She'd witnessed a man finally refuse to play the game. The cameras might have stopped rolling, but the moment was immortal. By morning, the entire world would see it. The day a prince stood up, spoke his truth, and walked away from the crown of television itself.